Come on, man. What do you got going on?
Screen on me. There we go. Sorry. Last week.
You're worse than me.
I'm an old guy with the technology.
I'm an old soul, so I struggle with technology. As Booker, he makes fun of me all the time. It's like he makes fun of me. He knows how to do these crazy things on Excel. I just just type it into the box. I don't know. Sorry. Question.
After, I know that Carolina didn't go the way you guys wanted, you had to be happy with the way your unit bounced back against a pretty good offense.
I mean, yes and no. There's always things that we need to improve on. From a execution, I think design of the game plan and play calling, I think if some of those things were a little bit cleaner, just little details here and there, I think you could keep leaving less points on the board. So, it was a better showing than it was the previous week, but always stuff to improve on.
Curious and it just this happens to be the example, but not to shine a light on. Buddha could have had an interception on one of those plays. When something like that happens, is it like, okay, that just didn't happen that play? Is there ever a teaching moment on a near takeaway or a near interception that you will potentially talk to a guy about?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought we had a handful of them, whether it was, guys actually getting their hands on balls, whether that's off ball carriers, strip sacks, or interceptions, through the air. There's coaching points to all those things on how you could get that ball out better, whether it was, the target or how you came down on the football or how you could have caught the ball. And so you want to, hit those points with it. So absolutely. You're gonna talk about like finishing those type of plays.
Barron had another impact play. I think this time he drew a hold. How has his development kind of developed since you got him at the deadline to now?
I think he's playing faster, which comes when your processing is faster, and so the more comfortable he is with scheme techniques, the quicker you're going to be able to play, faster you can play. So you see that play speed in those type of plays right there where, he just burns the corner and wins. And so I think you see just, those plays start to show up a little bit more.
What has his impact been on this defense?
It's been kind of well-balanced, helping us in many different ways, whether it's pass rush, his ability to set edges in the run game, but then also he can do all the cover stuff with ease. He's got such a versatile background, playing inside, playing on the edge, that he really just fits everything. First, second down, third down, all of it.
As you go into the offseason and you look at your unit and Monty or whomever from the front office, wants to talk to you about like what pieces in general, what pieces might you need to make your defense better? Like, do you think of those things as the season's going on and make notes and stuff? Is that something you only do after the season when you're kind of looking over everything and kind of going over what you guys did?
Yeah, I mean, I think you started the question with as you go into the offseason. I'm not going into the offseason. I'm going into Week 18 versus the 49ers. So, my focus is on that right now. But after the season, we definitely have a process of looking at all the tape and evaluate it, and really you want to step away a little bit before you dive into it and figure out where you can improve in every aspect, coaching, playing, all of it. So you go through that process eventually, and you want to be thorough with it when you do, but that's not right now.
I'm sure you were consulted last offseason about LJ coming back. Why did you want him back for another year?
A lot of different reasons. I think number one is he fits the locker room, Team U. I love coming to work with him every single day. The energy that he brings, putting the team first. But then I think the player fits what we want to do. You saw some stuff in the run game last week where when you get a one-on-one block, you better win that one-on-one, right? And he did that, and good front play, like the run game stops there, right? And so, boom, he gets a one-on block, wins it, tackle, like that's my expectation for him, and he can do that. So that coupled with, pushing the pocket, he had a couple plays like that, push pocket, gets his hand up, tips pass, like so many elements of his game to me fit what I want in a defensive lineman that I think he's done a tremendous job of, continuing to get better throughout the year and provide, high value to this defense.
What's it been like to see him come one game last year, signs a one-year deal, comes in, hasn't really gotten consistent playing time in his career, and then have the kind of season he's had?
Yeah. What I love about it is I know how much it means to him, and I know how much he pours into it. So to be able to see those results is important because I know he's going to continue to pour into it. And so just know that, like, hey, what you've been doing, what you've been working on so hard, what you're so passionate about, keep doing it because it's going to pay off for you.
The results against Kyron Williams this year, the two games, much different, much improved versus last year. What do you attribute that to? And is that a sign, just an overall improvement of the unit this year? How do you
Yeah, I think, when you look at it, the unit as a whole, you're not going to just boil it down to how did we do versus this one back. There's, the whole season to look at. Definitely things that we improved on, but also need to continue to improve on. In terms of, specific games against the Rams and being able to control the run, there's a lot of factors. I think we probably went into the game with, adjusted game plans, did a little bit better job there. I think we probably did a better job executing, goes back to guys up front winning one-on-ones, right? So, like, so many layers to it. Did we tackle better? There's so many layers to that can contribute to, the success in that part of the game there. And not every game's going to be the same, right? So, like, it just so happened that those two games last year, they were able to develop a run game, and these ones, we were able to shut it down a little bit better.
Kyle Shanahan just said that Brock Purdy wasn't going to be playing in the finale. If you guys end up seeing Josh Dobbs, does that help you at all, the fact that you just got to see him for half a season here? Or?
That kind of goes into, you always take in everything that's relevant to help game plan. So yeah, being around a guy, you definitely know him on a personal level, but just having a feel for, the type of player he is, what he's able to do, what you got to take away. I think that helps. Not to say that you have to be in a building with someone to know that, like, you should be able to get some of that off the tape, but again, you take in everything that you can to help win the game.
Conversely, you have to take into account that he knows your team fairly well in personnel.
I'm sure he does. Yeah, I mean, I think the Niners in general probably do really well. Great coaches over there, so that's not going to necessarily change anything.
It's obviously been a difficult rookie year for Darius with all the things he's had to deal with. In addition to the normal things rookies have to deal with, how do you assess how he's done through 16 games?
Yeah, well, not 16 games, right? Yeah, I thought he had his best game this past week, and you saw it out there making plays. Just continued improvement, and I know he's a guy that he is going to be all in on just every day. How can I get better? So right now, hey, how can we get better this week going into the San Fran game to help win us this game? And so, he's very present with that. He puts a lot into his preparation. So as long as he's able to keep stacking that, I feel great at where he's headed.
Last year you had a very similar situation, right, with Garrett coming back mid-season. Well, I guess when you have a rookie who can only play half the season, how do you assess that differently than a rookie who you have a full 17 games to look at?
I mean, our job as coaches is to get guys better, right? So we're going to take in as much as we can to figure out what does that improvement plan have to look like. Being around them for all that time, all the practices, all the games, even though it's not as a full season sample size, we should have a good idea as coaches on what do we need to do our part to serve the player and make him as good of a player as he can be. So, same thing with Garrett. It wasn't a full sample size, but we had enough to say, okay, hey, this is what we got to work on, and then you attack it. You attack it as soon as that offseason starts.
How would you evaluate the impact that Sean had, not only on the field, but also with all the young corners around him?
Yeah, it was great veteran leadership as soon as he stepped in this building, which was huge. And Sean's phenomenal. Like, phenomenal teammate, phenomenal guy to be around. I mean, comes to work every day with a smile on his face. He fits a lot of the guys that I love for that reason. Just loves ball. But the leadership was very apparent as well. Like immediately helping out all those younger corners. And he's made a huge impact for us on the field in multiple ways. I mean, being able to take people off the map, win stressful downs, take the ball away. He's got a knack for that. So, huge. It's been huge.
Just as a whole, how have you seen that kind of cornerbacks room grow this year?
Yeah. In a lot of ways, not just the play. I think they got high-level confidence. And, I have a high level of confidence in them that they can go out there and line up against the best and win those stressful downs. So I like where that room is at, but again, got to keep getting better, right? There's so much we can continue to improve on in that room and really everything, right? Every position.
Back to Darius for a second. You said this was his best week. What made it his best week, and what are the kinds of things that he does when he's at his best that make it?
He's disruptive, and you see that through, pass rush, getting to the quarterback, or tackles for loss, really. That's what we saw throughout training camp. Plays that you wouldn't normally think are going to lead to a tackle for loss. You're trying to build a wall, keep it a minimal gain, and when you really win a block and can shed and get off and make any TFL on a call that I'm not thinking this is going to TFL it, like that's impressive. And so it kind of goes into what I talked about with Barron in terms of the more that you're comfortable with, here's my job within the scheme, here's my technique, now my processing is going to be that much faster, and I can play that much faster myself, more violent, high motor, like all of that goes together. And so once that starts to happen, guys can really let it loose and play to their potential, right? Play to their full potential. If you have at all any kind of hesitation or processing that's making you slow up, like you're not going to be your best. And that takes time, right? That's a lot of banked reps. So the more that continues to build, I expect you'll see those plays where he lets his just physicality take over.
What's the click for Max Melton last month or so?
Say that one more time.
What's the click for Max Melton last month or so?
I mean, that's a detailed position from a technique standpoint, but also like don't disregard how much communication that you have to make with the rest of the back end, with the linebackers, all the different, coverage tools that you have to use versus offenses, dressing things up. And so there's a lot to that position because it's a high stressful position in terms of winning one-on-ones, but then there's also a lot of thinking. And so really, to me, like both those things have elevated throughout the season. The technique, whether that's early in the down from press or off or bail to in the middle of the down, how am I moving through the move zone, and then the catch point, the finish, right? So, like, that's the life of a corner right there. But then also his communication, his processing, how fast can I get to this call? How quickly can I, read this stack right here, and depending on what happens, get on the right guy. So, like, that's improved as well. There's a huge mental aspect to every position, but that's a tough position. So, I've seen strides in both those areas.
From a technique standpoint, are there any specific things he's done over the last second half of the season maybe that have shown that growth to you?
Yeah, again, I think you got to break the position down into multiple phases throughout the down. I like where his press technique has improved. I think he's getting really comfortable with that. There's areas in the move zone that I feel like he's done a good job of. Still things I want to see improve, just the consistency of that. So yeah, I mean it's a lot of different things within that corner play.
We've obviously seen a lot of the ways that you use Zayman all over the field. Back to that play against Tyreek Hill where he kept up with him. What is the benefit, though, now with Barron and also Mac of having multiple 2-3 guys that these other offenses have to think about while they can do things all over the field? What is the benefit for you guys having multiple guys with that?
I think you know what it is. It's the versatility piece, right? It's being able to do unconventional things on every down, right? First, second down, third down. Those guys have, and it takes those type of guys in order to do that, not just from a skill set standpoint, but from guys that can go win, right? So, like, to me, those guys can go win as rushers, but they can also do some things that not everybody at those positions can do whether that's in coverage or in the run game, that don't fit their position. You know what I'm saying? So like Mac, like not every inside backer can go play on the edge and play violent like he does. And, you know, Barron and Zaven, the stuff that they have to do in coverage, and really all the outside backers, we ask them to do a lot that they're able to do. And it just brings you some versatility. You know, schematically, you can get very creative with that. So, you know, I love that piece of it, right? Because it allows us to try to help win downs through, you know, scheme, and obviously it takes the execution piece of it. So, yeah, I highly value, you know, the versatility that those three bring.